My father had 3 wives.
Hmm?
Okay, he's passed on,
Yes.
and may his soul rest in peace. The first wife had 9 children, and the last born of the first wife and myself from the third wife, I'm the firstborn. We are the same age.
Wow.
Intriguing.
Yes.
I was born only about, I think, 9 days. Not even 9. I think it's a week earlier. So ideally, then that means that I must be... Okay, the second wife, of course, she had 2 sons before I was born myself. So it means I must be now number 11. No, not number 11. I think I'm number 12. So the first wife, 9 children. The second wife, 11 children. The third wife, my mother, 12 children. And then there is a son who joined the family, you know. Interestingly, the first wife was living in a separate region.
Right.
But the other 2, we were living together in the same house. And interestingly, is that all of us,
Yes.
we didn't matter where we took our meals.
It didn't matter.
It didn't matter.
Yes.
So as long as there is a meal in whoever's house it is or kitchen, you go and eat. We were many boys.
Yes.
The boys are cheeky. You would go and eat there and come and eat here.
Right.
Eat there and come and eat here. And each time I went home, if I find my mother is not there, I would go to my other mother. So personally, I agree not distinguishing the difference. At some point, I decided and I told myself, I don't think this is a good life. Because as the man grows older, you know, you are not able to cope with the fast life. So he will always tend to, you know, lean on one side. Because you can't cope. I know you understand what I mean.
Yes.
As you grow old.
Yes.
And of course that now brings a lot of tension. When he appears like he's siding with one, then the other one is feeling like, why am I being left out? And I would always see my mother and the other mother competing who is going to give a meal in the evening to Mzee. You know, when Mzee comes, you know, everybody is preparing something, and Mzee would always get 2 plates of meals, and then he would choose which one to eat. These old people, it was okay. I think to manage. And you know, his job, he was actually a salesman with a company that was called Leyland. He was a salesman. And most of the time he was not in the house. We never used to see him. But whenever he came home as boys, because I think he knew boys are cheeky, he would come home and he would just call us.
Yes.
And he would remove his mushipi.
Yes.
And he starts whipping us. I know you must have done something wrong here, which is true for boys. And you know, as cheeky as we were, we would go under the bed, and then you would climb up the bed. So you'd be whipping, and you are crying as if you have been hit. Yes. And yet it is nothing is getting on your buttocks. Yes. That was interesting, and we grew as a very united family. In fact, even today, if you meet my stepbrothers when we are together, you didn't know who belongs to which family.
Really?
We don't bother about those other issues. I think number one is he was working hard, and he ensured he provided. We were born in Kiambu, a place called Red Hill. In fact, I think we migrated from Kiambu to Nakuru County in 1973. And me, I'm born 67, so you can see I was about 6 years old. He actually got this Mzungu settlers land in Nakuru, a huge chunk of land. So he became a farmer, a large-scale farmer. He was growing wheat, he was growing barley, a large scale, because his farm was, I think, almost 800 acres. In fact, at some points, he was calling himself Lord Mao. Lord Mao, yes. Meaning that he had a lot of resources. I admire him even today.
Is it?
Yeah. Even today, I have very sweet memories about him. Oh yes. He enjoyed his life.
Yes.
But at some point, I think as he grew old, of course, he leaned towards spirituality.
Yes.
And he was an ardent spiritual man. And that's how he ended up. He became sick. And I remember because, my wife is a doctor. So by the fact that my wife is a doctor, then I had the privilege of taking care of him. But sometimes some sicknesses are very interesting. That one time we went to see a doctor. I'm taking him to a doctor, and he's asked, "Do you know this man?" He looks at me and he says, "Yes, I remember him.
Yes.
We used to work with him."
Make you feel?
It made me feel so sad. Yes. How can my father not recognize me? He died at 78. I remember that day, I was still working here in Nairobi, with Kenya Power. And, I was called. He was in Kenyatta Hospital, a private wing.
Yeah.
And I was called, and when I was given the information, I really shed tears. Of course, as a man, you don't shed tears in front of people.
Yes.
I cried as I was driving.
Yes.
And at some point, I couldn't see where I'm driving.
Yes.
And I realized, no, I need to park my car aside and
So you pulled over.
finish these crying moments and come out as a man.
It was a tough time.
Yeah, it was a very tough time. One of the things that I borrowed from my father is that, he was a stickler of timekeeping. And I remember, when he became spiritual, he would call our mothers, we go to church. And if you don't get to the car by the time he wants to get, he drives off.
Yes.
Yes, he leaves you behind. Stickler of time.
Yeah.
And he was organized and clean. I've never seen a man
like
who's very clean.
Yes.
No, me, I can't match him. I can't. There is one brother of mine who, again, is also a stickler of... Those ones, when he washes his hands, you would actually get concerned.
Why?
He washes his hands. He washes his hands and washes them again and again.
What's his name?
It's David. And I know we must have taken that from our father because our father was clean.
Neat.
White shirts.
Yes.
Nice suits. And I admired him. He had many pairs of shoes. And I remember because he used to tell me to polish them, and I would pull them out on weekend and line them up and shine them. So even today, I still shine my shoes. Yeah. Today, nobody shines my shoes because they don't do as I do them. They don't do as I do them. That's another story.
Yes.
Of course, you get married, and of course, you always imagine that the things you like or the things you do, your partner will do them the way you do them. And then we used to quarrel. How come these things are all over? How come these things are all over? You guys don't lock the doors when you leave your room. Why are you not locking the door? Why are you not putting off the lights? That organization in my mind used to bother me. Right. I used to think my wife is becoming a bit cheeky.
Yes.
Why can't she do things the way I would imagine they're done?
Yes.
And we used to quarrel. But after some time, I realized this is a different person.
Yes.
Her background is different.
Yes.
And she would tell me her story. They lived in a single room. So then they never used to have doors to lock. So that's why, for her, you don't lock the door. Because there's only one door to go out. And I realized, wow. The way you bring up somebody, it sticks in their mind. Some of our children have taken after her, so they don't lock the door. But I decided I will not bother anybody.
Yes.
I just go and lock the doors and put off. And I'm a happy man. The journey of climbing up the ladder started, of course, when I graduated from University of Nairobi in 1990. The other part of my story is maybe because of my father's influence. I married early.
Okay.
My father married when he was 24, first wife. I married when I was 23, so I beat him.
Okay.
So you can imagine that I had some struggles initially.
Yes.
I have a wife.
Yes.
And we have a daughter. My wife was still in school, in medical school. She was 1 year behind me, and medicine, they were taking longer. So I got myself a single room somewhere around Nairobi, and she would always come over the weekend. I brought in my sister.
In the single room?
In a single room. We just divided it by curtain. Later, I got a job in Kenya Polytechnic, the university, as an assistant director. So that's where I started. And I taught there for 1 year. Then the opportunity for Kenya Power and Lighting came. And fortunately, I was taken. As a graduate engineer, we went round for 2 years training in Kenya Power. But thereafter, I joined customer service department where we deal with customers. Maybe that's where I got this experience of handling people. So I grew. In fact, for me, within a very short period, I had risen the ladder to become a senior engineer within a very short time. When there was 1 year, I was promoted twice. Another CEO came, and this particular CEO, I'll not tell you who it is, he said there are some people who have always worked either in Nairobi or somewhere around the vicinity here. I want them transferred to the hardest part of this country. Fortunately, I didn't go very far. I was transferred to Nyeri. I said, it's fine. My family that time, I think it was when I was just putting up a house in Ngong in 2004. That's when I was transferred to Nyeri. And I left my family. And of course, I would come every Friday and leave, not on Sunday, on Monday very early in the morning. I would leave my house at 4. It was, of course, a difficult time because you can see our family, we were used to being together all the time. Now this is the first time that you are away. And I remember something intriguing was sometimes in the morning when I take my tea before I leave, there were days I would find the same cup on the coffee table. And I would ask my wife, what is the problem? This cup, I left it here on Monday morning and it's still here on Friday. And she tells me now, I'm so lonely in this place. Maybe when I see that cup there, it's like I'm seeing you there. The kids are in school, they're in boarding school. It made me sad. Very sad. That's why I had every Friday. I remember I used to go and fuel my car over lunch hour on Friday, go back to the office, and exactly at 4:30, I'm back on my journey. After some time, the intrigues that are there, the push and pull. And since I could see that things are not working very well.
They were struggling.
At some point, my mother was a favorite. Then at some point, she becomes the villain. At some point, she is a favorite. And when your mother is a villain, who suffers?
The kids.
Because you're mistreated. The father is not providing. He denied some of the whatever. So those are the things that I didn't like. And I promised myself I will have one wife and one family so that I provide for them and the environment is the same continuously. I have been a CEO now, I think slightly about 2 months. But I can tell you it is not an easy thing because you have the organization on your shoulders. And anything that happens that is negative points at you. Anything that happens that is not good points at you. And then there are those naysayers. At one point, I think something happened in KenGen just when I had joined. Remember, there was a blackout. And people were saying, is it because Njenga has just joined KenGen? He must be the one who has caused this problem. You can imagine, how would I come in and in a week's time, I'm causing a blackout in the organization? It's because people are just looking at, who is the leader in that organization? So and so. When you are the helm, you have a lot of shouldering issues to deal with. And when difficult things come up, people look up to you. Just like being the president of Kenya, when there's this issue of inflation and it's affecting the whole world, people start blaming the man at the top. But what is important is to try and make these people work as a team. Right from the guys who are reporting to you. Let them start seeing themselves as a part of that leadership. That anything he does in his department affects the other department. I've seen.
Yes.
Interestingly, though I was not saved, but I remember when I got married, no single Sunday we would not go to church. And in fact, when I got saved, people asking me, we thought you were saved. Your demeanor and your characteristics, people think that I'm saved. Of course, there are those things that I used to do before I was saved that were, of course, on the other side. The happies of life. I used to enjoy that, I can tell you. Remember one time I went to a joint on Thika Road. I had gone to buy meat for my family in some place, Kiamaiko. You know Kiamaiko?
I've heard of it.
Where you go buy goats that are already whatever. I think we are having some party or something in my home. And on the way back, I decided, let me go and have two before I now head home.
Yes.
So I went into the pub, got my drinks, enjoyed myself. And so at some point, when I was leaving, I went and found my car is not there.
Whoa.
My car is not there. I'm asking what happened. No, your car has been towed by the police. Why? No, it has been taken by police unless you go and find out from the police where they took your car. So I went to the police station. And these guys told me, open your boot. I opened the boot. And they find I have a goat. Do you know why they towed my car?
Because it was blood.
When the guy was putting the goat, there was blood on the bonnet. On the boot of the car, there was blood on top. So they thought, this guy, there must be something. There must be something in this car. That's how it was told. So you can imagine these kind of things. And then I go home. You're going home very odd hours and you're telling these stories. They can't believe you.
Yeah.
What are you telling me? That your car was towed because it had whatever? You must be having funny dealings.
Yes.
I really reviewed my life, and I decided that even though I tend to enjoy life on the other side, I think it is safer to be on the side of God. I always say, the name of the Lord is a strong tower, and when you run to it, you're safe.
You land it there. I love it.
That is,
yes, I love it.
That is Proverbs 18:10.